We're here on the Douglaston project, and I'm currently with the founder and principal of the Your Garden Angel, and I'm going to have him tell us a little bit more about why he does landscape design and also more about this project. I'd like to introduce you to Laz Marrero.
Hi. Your Garden Angel, I'm Your Garden Angel. And founder and principal owner, sounds fancy, but it's me and my trained crew of landscapers. And I like to think of it as trying to realize people's dreams as far as what they want in a landscape. And that landscape could be a potted plant, an indoor potted plant, to an outdoor project such as this. And my focus is on developing relationships with my clients to find out what they want, and to the extent that I can provide that for them, we work collaboratively. I don't come in with set ideas, or like a style, an aesthetic. I am eclectic in my plant choices. I use cactuses, succulents, and the traditional stuff too. But the projects that I love the most, like this particular project, I have a personal friendship with I don't call them clients, they're friends. They come to my home, it's not necessary, you don't have to eat with me, but it really fuels my work, my care.
Laz, how long have you been working on this particular project?
This project I've been working on it for about 5 to 6 years, and I consider it my opus. I've tried many things here. Most have gone right, some did not go right. So it's a work in progress, like any garden. It's not a static thing, it's an organic thing. And like a relationship, it develops. As a client comes to trust you, they allow you to try certain things that scared them in the beginning.
What was the initial goal of the homeowner in designing this?
I met the homeowner. This is like an interesting story. I was a former president of the New York City Cactus and Succulent Society, and there's a place that we would frequent in a flower district where they sold cactuses. And I ran into the fellow that owns the place, and he says, "There's this guy that loves cactuses. He'd be a great person for you to meet." Now, I live in Astoria, and my client's place of business is in Long Island City, one of his sister neighborhoods. And one day, sure enough, I met my client there, told him about the Cactus Society. He joined meetings. He knew what I did, and he invited me. He says, "Hey, I have a blank slate. What do you think?" And I came over to his property, a home he had bought from his aunt or his uncle, I can't remember which. And when I saw the space, I was just like, "Oh my God, this is like incredible." And it was covered in ivy, poison ivy, all kinds of bindweed, wild rose, and construction debris like you wouldn't believe. And he just let me go to town, and over time we would go to Cactus Society meetings. We became good friends. And at the same time, I'm working on his property and developing it. So that's how that got started,
And how far has Your Garden Angel traveled for a project?
Well, if I had to give it like a time rate, I'm really horrible when it comes to I was a city kid. I talk in blocks. People ask me how many miles away, the radius. It's like I wanted to travel about maybe 45 minutes away, and even an hour if it's worth my while. If it's a really large, challenging project, but small things doesn't make sense. But a lot of my training, ironically, was on rooftops in the city. So a lot of rooftop gardens, terrace gardens, window boxes all over the city. And it's amazing how people want to retain that sense of nature and like the concrete jungle of New York, which is greening more and more as the the edges of the waterways are joining. So that's been a lot of Brooklyn. Brooklyn's seeing a huge residential development, and what once were area zones for commercial space. So my typical job is maybe 150 to 200 square feet,
Okay.
thereabouts. And again, working with the homeowner to develop that space, working with their budget, but being realistic. I believe in quality plant material and workmanship, and rather than quantity and junk.
What are you seeing is the most recent trend in doing landscape design that people seem to be asking for or taking an interest?
People are very much concerned with any use of chemicals in the landscape.
Environment friendly?
Yeah, environment friendly chemicals. And I can't use chemicals. I'm not licensed to use chemicals. Ironically, the homeowner can use chemicals that are readily available to them at Home Depot, like Roundup and all sorts of herbicides, fungicides, pesticides, that I, as a professional, need a license to use. And I always tell people not to go the petrochemical route and try to do things manually or holistically, baking soda. Even I use fire to kill some weeds with a hand torch. And there's also just manually picking it, which gives you aerobic exercise. That's good for health. Elderly people love it. And that's like the concern that I've been seeing among people.
In a moment, we're going to be taking you around the project that Laz and his crew have been doing over the years on this property, and I'm going to ask him to tell us what he'd like us to focus on as we're doing this tour.
Okay, great. I'd love to take you guys around.
All right, great. Let's do it.
Okay. I wanted to I'll point out some specimen plants. This client has a very eclectic taste, willing to try wild things. So you're going to see some wild things. You're not going to see the traditional, I like to say boring, but, the everyday British landscape, with the yews, the taxus, the hollies, and the same old, For instance, over here, we have a monkey puzzle plant. I'm going to use common names, quiz me later on the land. And this is from Patagonia. I call it my Dr. Seuss plant. And just look at it. It looks like a conifer. It is not a conifer. Thorny little guy. It keeps you away. But it's just like different, man, and it just works. And speaking of stalwarts that I've said that I don't always go towards, here we have the hydrangea, and somehow it works. You know what I mean?
It does. I agree.
And we have the holly. I tend not to use sculptured things, but the holly came in a cone shape, and we're trying to restore it back to that shape. The one on the right side is more indicative. But I like hollies, man, because the homeowner fell in love with them. And I think I'd seen Stephen King, The Shining, and there was that maze, and I just kind of saw this, and I thought it was kind of cool.
I'm noticing we have a wonderful trail leading up into the property.
This trail was uncovered.
Okay.
Was underneath debris, underneath rubble. This site was covered with construction debris, which is a dirty little secret. People who do gut rehabs of homes will dump all the debris in the backyard or front yard, cover it up with not even fill. I mean, just fill, and then they'll seed a lawn or sod a lawn, so that it looks like, hey, I got a backyard. And then when you want to do something different, your garden angel comes around, starts digging, and starts hitting cinder block, bricks, tile, glass, plywood, and everything else. I'm noticing quite a bit of stonework is going throughout here. That stone, I uncovered a stone wall that runs to the extent of the property. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, this is cool. But we did get a restoration mason that does churches in England. Okay. And he came and he started working on the step, everything done hand by hand. And the stone existing on the property. Beautiful. And we're going to get some concrete work. These slabs marble or whatever it is, granite, were
Yes.
insisting.
Okay.
So they were not there.
Now I'm noticing some of your crew up in one of the trees all the way at the top of this trail.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what he's doing?
Without bells and whistles, without chainsaws, which I have.
Yeah.
Chainsaws are very sexy, but they're very dangerous and they spew out lousy sounds and smells. We're doing things the old-fashioned way.
Okay.
So with ropes and hand saws, we're taking down a tree.
Wow.
And that tree was alive when we were here. And I think what killed it was they put in a house in the back.
Okay.
And they compacted the soil with backhoes and all this sort of stuff. And I think compacted the soil to the extent that the roots were affected or the soil wouldn't get enough water or whatever, and the tree died.
Well, we're moving along here, and we're taking a look at some of these
funny
plants.
story. This little sort of level over here is filled with hydrangeas. And you know what? I had a hate for hydrangeas in the beginning, and I wanted to knock every hydrangea and every hosta off of the property. But then what happened? The homeowner's wife, who wasn't that involved with the garden, says, I want my hydrangeas back, which weren't hers, it belonged to someone else. So the hydrangeas, after being knocked out, came back. And you know what? I love them because they die gracefully. They even when they dry, the flowers are just beautiful as cut dried flowers.
And the fragrance is amazing.
And it's really nice. And this is a standard hydrangea, standard because of the way it's the branching, the stem. And when this flowers, it's like a cluster of head of white flowers. It's like a big puffy cloud of hydrangeas. And in the very back, you can kind of see what was existing yuccas in the back. And this is the flower stalk of a yucca.
Okay. I'm looking at this right now. I'm bringing it in. So you can see these beautiful flowers on this plant here.
And this is an existing Rose of Sharon up there, common plant.
Oh, my.
And it just keeps on coming back. And one of the trees that we knocked down was a pawpaw plant. And pawpaw plant, I believe, is native. And the pawpaw fruit, if you ever get it, it's like really delicious. But stupid squirrels get it before you do. And but it came back. Those little seedlings that I decided to. As I get older, I'm kinder to things that want to survive. And we're letting it happen.
I'm noticing you have another trail here that you're working on.
This trail, now you can see the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, he started this trail.
Okay.
All right, now it's littered with litter, which I believe in not throwing everything away. This I will throw into the landscape and compost it.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't really use, every now and then on annuals I'll use like Osmocote or something like that, but in general, I let nature feed itself, So what we have is just a beautiful little trail. He didn't get to finish this work. He had to go back to Wales or something.
Okay.
So I'm not like 100% happy with like the size stuff, but I'm a perfectionist. So, but I did want to talk about this if we have the time.
Absolutely.
I believe in color year round.
Okay.
So these are camellias. Okay, they will flower in October, November, December. And they have a beautiful flower, almost like a peony, if you're familiar with camellias of different colors. So that we have something in the landscape in the winter happening, flowering. And we have Weichelias, and we have azaleas, and we have buddleia, attracts the butterflies. When I first did this garden, we had 3 different chunks of buddleias. There were hundreds of butterflies.
I'm noticing that. I've seen some today.
They're not as many this year. I don't know why, and over here, we have a clematis, which is one of my favorite plants, the climbing vine. And the clematis loves feet in the shade, head in the sun. So that's exactly what it has, and it loves it, and it comes back every year. Yes.
I'm noticing an irrigation system that's being put in place.
The irrigation system is in place. It hasn't been turned on this year because of the rain and sundry other reasons. But there is, the homeowner used to water this place on his own. And when it started taking, he's a structural engineer, when it started taking 2 to 3 hours to water by hand, he finally relented, and we have a zoned, timed rainbird.
I noticed you do irrigation systems for gardens as part of your business?
Yeah, part of what I do.
Okay.
And then the homeowner, I guess this was my homage to his Greek ethnicity.
Okay.
Sort of a cliche stereotype that made him laugh a little bit. I got a fig tree.
Beautiful.
And we did have cucumbers here, but more labor intensive, you know.
And I'm noticing over here, as we're coming to a close, that you have some cactus.
Oh yeah, well we have not only cactus, but we have every cactus is a succulent. Not every succulent is a cactus.
Okay.
So this is what I call my succulent border. I created this, and I have a bunch of sedum, and these will flower. Look how beautiful that is. Come on.
Absolutely lovely.
And we have the little paths. These are called the puntias, and we have an ice plant, which is a purple little flower, a little sedum, the yellow flower, and they're actually more colors. But look at that yellow flower on here.
I'm noticing that.
And that's like the people that eat cactus pears. It's the same family, or nopalas, and so on. And these yuccas, I'm very proud of. I mean,
yes, I saw that. Very interesting.
Very sharp. I think this is Spanish dagger. I've got it.
Well, I'd like to thank you for your time today. I know we're running a little bit on time here. So, again, folks, this
look at the bamboo. Oh, my God.
Your garden angel, Laz Marrero, talking to us about the Douglaston project. And, Laz, I'd like to thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, lady. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.